Hello everybody. Here is my very rare copy of the Maryland Bigfoot Digest, a survey of creature sightings in the Free State by Mark Upsasnik. Now, this book was released in 2004. It is currently out of print and it is very, very difficult to find. This book is really a lot of fun. It's very creepy. I'm not completely sold on the Bigfoot thing. I would need to see a little bit more than I've seen. And I've seen some things, but it's just not enough for me to say, okay, there's a Bigfoot. I know some of you are believers, and this video will probably greatly appeal to you, but also I think it'll appeal to non-believers too, because it's just plain creepy. So let's go ahead and head over to Sykesville, Maryland to talk about the Sykesville monster, a Bigfoot case that happened back in May and June of 1973. Let's go. It's so quiet. What the hell was that? What did they say?
Ow. Ooh.
What the hell? Oh my God. So here we are in Maryland, and we're doing a little story on the Sykesville monster. And this house right behind me here, right here on the corner, there was a sighting at this house that's listed in this book, the Bigfoot Digest, the Maryland Bigfoot Digest. And while we're here, I'm going to read out of the book the story of what happened behind this house. Probably, I don't know if it was in the 70s or 80s. We'll find out right now. But you have to picture back in this, at the time, that this was all woods here. So they've built houses up here, there's houses back there, but at the time, this was all deep, pretty deep forest. All miles and miles of deep forest. So there's still a lot of woods here, but there's a lot of houses here and developments too. So anyway, let's read this. Well, I think in the story it mentions a ravine. Oh my God. It scared the shit out of me. Oh my God. First we hear that hee ha ho hum. I'm Dan Bell on location. Have you got me? Is it right? Okay. Okay, the Sykesville Monster episode began when the Herald, Sykesville, Maryland newspaper published an article entitled "Footprint Found in Woods" by Donna Herbert, wife of Police Chief Omar Herbert, in its May 31st, 1973 edition. According to the published account, Anthony Dorsey of 7602 Norris Avenue was watching television in the living room of his house on the night of Tuesday, May 29th, 1973, when he heard his dog barking wildly in the background at approximately 10:30 p.m. Mr. Dorsey investigated the situation and discovered that his dog was apparently fighting with something in a heavily wooded area about 45 feet from the house. So at the time, this backyard here is pretty bare, but at the time this would have all been, as I said, forest. As Mr. Dorsey retreated to find a flashlight and a rifle, the dog exited the woods and ran to his owner's side. According to Mr. Dorsey, the dog's hair was standing on end so that he looked like a porcupine. Armed and ready for anything, Mr. Dorsey returned to the edge of the woods to confront his pet's tormentor. Several years after the evening in question, I visited and interviewed Anthony Dorsey in his home, and he showed me where the incident took place. The woods that covered the land in 1973 were now replaced with a housing subdivision. But Mr. Dorsey recalled things exactly as they happened, and in his statements were almost identical to what had been published in the local newspaper accounts when the creature flat began. Anthony Dorsey seemed mystified as he recalled the events of May 29, 1973. He quietly told me, I started walking into the woods and I heard this large crashing noise. Like whatever it was knocking the trees right over. I walked toward it and it started backing up. That's when I put the flashlight on it and saw those two huge eyes. They reflected red light from my flashlight. They were big, like the size of $50, maybe a little larger. Mr. Dorsey went on to tell me that the eyes that he saw stood well over 7 feet off the ground and that they definitely reflected red light, as opposed to glowing in the dark as local newspaper accounts reported. He was also adamant that he never saw any type of body form, only the reflection from what he presumed was a very large pair of animal eyes. What was that? What was that?
Maybe, I hope deer.
I don't know. I mean, maybe we're spooking ourselves out reading this fucking creepy story in the dark where it actually took place. Okay, shaken by what had just transpired, Mr. Dorsey gathered himself and within minutes contacted the Sykesville Police Department, who immediately dispatched Officer Charles Rupp to North Avenue to investigate. The two men briefly talked strategy and then cautiously approached the wooded area outside of the Dorsey home. Just as Mr. Dorsey began pointing out where his dog had exited the woods, both men heard a loud crashing noise just a few feet in front of them. The pair quickly backed off and debated on what course of action to take next. Officer Rupp told me to go in and check it out, Mr. Dorsey recalled, and I said no way. In an attempt to flush out the creature, Officer Rupp walked several feet into the woods. What was that?
It's gotta be deer.
Yeah, it's probably deer. In an attempt to flush out the creature, Officer Rupp walked several feet into the woods when an extremely loud crashing noise pierced the air and what sounded like a very large animal tore through the underbrush. Officer Rupp remained hidden in darkness when he yelled out to Mr. Dorsey that the creature, or whatever it was coming his way. He caught a glimpse of something and called out, "Halt or I'll shoot." Mr. Dorsey told me that they next heard a small tree snap in half and the creature changed direction and noisily ran off deeper into the woods. The next day, Wednesday, May 30th, Mr. Dorsey, accompanied by Sykesville Chief of Police Omar Herbert, diligently searched the surrounding area and discovered 3 5-foot-toed footprints, 1 full print in excellent condition and 2 partial prints in poor condition. The full left print was followed by a partial right print to stride between the 2 prints being over 6 feet. To this day, Anthony Dorsey is generally perplexed by what he experienced that night. I first thought it was some guy that had escaped from the Springfield State Hospital, a mental health facility, which at the time was situated a mile up the road from downtown Sykesville. I just don't know. The next day we found this tree right out here about the size of my fist in width, and it was just snapped right in half. I thought maybe it was a deer, but a deer couldn't knock that thing over. The deer don't stand 7 feet tall. So that occurred right here in this area, like within feet of us. That's kind of creepy. So that is the house right there, and we are back behind the property of that house on this road right here. And you can see that this is just a wooded area. Let's go have a look over here and see if we see anything. The story from the book sounded like, I mean, it could have been a bear, you know? But the fact that they found footprints in the woods, that's kind of weird. Dan and I just saw this little road off the side here, and we're just gonna drive up here and see. It looks like is it a house? What is it? It's a church. It's gotta be a church, right? Oh look, it's like a little, it's like a little, it's a little historic church. It's fine, Dan. We're not doing anything wrong. Huh?
I said, where does that go to? Maybe it just
It's
goes
like a
around.
cemetery thing. Sleeping on the job.
I got a DJ.
Oh yeah. He's up here doing some bullshit. Did you see him? He was sleeping. So right behind Dan, who's filming, is 551 Schoolhouse Road, where this story takes place. And just behind me is the house on the hill, right behind me right here. And we're going to hear about this part here. So on Sunday, June 3rd, 1973, the evening started in fine fashion when 15-year-old Elston Howard Gassaway, better known as Howdy, looked out a back window of his house at 551 Schoolhouse Road just as dusk settled, and he thought he saw a large figure moving through some brush in his backyard, which was heavily wooded and bordered by the Patapsco River. He investigated the situation, and just as he had completed a search of the back reaches of his property, he looked over his shoulder and was stunned to see a large ape-like creature attempting to enter the cellar of his neighbor's home on the side of a hillside a short distance away, which that would have been. As Howdy Gasaway looked on in disbelief, the creature apparently picked up his scent and suddenly darted back into the shadows with lightning speed. The young Gasaway lad maintained a steady lookout over his family's property for the rest of the evening, and his perseverance paid off. The creature returned, and this time he was not the only person to see it. At 10:30 p.m. that night, Howdy Gasaway was inside his house, seated at his back window post, when he saw a large, egg-shaped head sticking out of the top of the brush in the dense thicket surrounding the property, which was illuminated by a large floodlight. Bessie Gasaway, his mother, and Diane Coleman, a visiting family relative, that there was a large something in their backyard. The three surveyed the backyard area and were stunned to see the creature stand to its full height and walk through an opening in the yard about 30 yards away, before hiking up a small hill and disappearing into the heavy brush near the river. While the creature was only in view for a few seconds, the Gasaways and Miss Coleman had a clear look at the entity and were all in agreement on its appearance. They claimed what they saw was an ape-like entity that stood close to 8 feet tall and appeared to be covered with grayish-white hair. An article entitled "Prowlers Still Baffling Police" by Donna Herbert appeared in the June 7th, 1973 edition of the Herald and provided in-depth coverage of the Gasaway incident. Bessie Gasaway was quoted as saying the creature was a big, funny-looking thing with unusual hair and eyes. Howdy Gasaway weighed in by saying the creature moved fast and that he thought it was highly intelligent, as evidenced by the fact that it was continuously tried to duck and hide in the surrounding brush. "It thinks like a man. It knows how to avoid us," Gasaway told the reporter. The article then told how Sykesville police arrived on the scene and conducted a 6-hour search in the area, though the creature refused to show its face again that night. So the author of the book, Mark Obsasnik, came out here to meet Howdy Gasaway, who at the time they lived in this house. The Gasaways lived here up until 2011, and they sold the house. But down in this property in the back, there's a ravine, and that's where they saw the creature poke its head out of a thicket. So Howdy Gasaway would have come up to this, would have been right out here, and he would have come up to the backyard. This is the backyard here. And then he would have peered up this way and saw the creature up here trying to break into this house. And Dan just pointed out that there's a snake. And Dan, I don't think that's alive. Yeah. How does it keep going? Oh.
You don't go down there.
Yeah, I don't think so. You said something interesting about the train tracks, though. That the creature may have used the tracks to travel around this area.
Right.
Because they cut through, and it's like everywhere they saw him, the tracks are, not more than half a mile away.
Or even in this county, the different sightings in this county alone that could have traveled.
Right. So, it's hard to say. It's creepy back here. Man. This thing can light. Look how much it lights it up. Is that water? They're just plants. What?
Flowers are really pretty.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, they are beautiful.